On this week's Health and Wellness episode of ANOKHI Daily Spotlight TV, we're joined by functional medicine specialist Dr. Sachin Patel of Living Proof Institute, who will be speaking with us about thyroid disease. Dr. Patel, so what is the thyroid and why is it a particular concern to the South Asian community?
Well, the thyroid is a bilobar gland, which means we have two halves of it. It's butterfly shaped and it's located right underneath the Adam's apple. It's significant to all populations because everyone has one, male and female. I guess for the Asian community it's much more significant because there seems to be a higher predisposition to thyroid disease in the Asian community. I think a lot of it has to do with a variety of factors, including dietary restrictions. Many Asians are vegetarians, so they don't eat a lot of seafood or sea vegetables, which contain iodine, which is critical to thyroid function. And of course, we tend to have a lot more stress and maybe not as active as other communities tend to be, and that those variety of factors, including those that influence thyroid health.
And so what does the thyroid actually do? Is it responsible for any functions in the body?
Well, good question, because the thyroid actually has many, many different functions. In fact, every cell in your body has a receptor site for thyroid hormone, which means that when your thyroid hormone isn't functioning properly or the cells aren't receiving the signaling properly, it feels like people's lives are caving in on them. It literally affects the brain, the skin, the digestive system, bone formation, the integrity of our intestinal tract. All of these things are impacted by our thyroid. And it's clinically significant because what ends up happening a lot of times is people think that these are separate issues. So they might complain about depression or hair loss or dry skin and think that these are independent issues when in fact they're all connected to a dysfunctional thyroid. The thyroid controls our basic metabolic functions, which means when that doesn't take place anymore or as efficiently, everything tends to slow down. So the most common misconception that somebody might have if they see someone who does have thyroid disease is they might think this person doesn't exercise, they don't eat well, they're not taking good care of themselves.
They're just overweight.
And when in fact they do have a major metabolic disorder that's going on internally. And another myth about thyroid disease is that it's hereditary. And you know, the significance of that is there might be some genetic predispositions to all diseases because we do inherit our genes from our parents. But what it's important to understand is environment plays a very, very important role, which means that through our environmental influences such as diet, lifestyle, exercise, relationships, environmental toxins, we can turn on or turn off, regulate gene expression. So I'll start by saying you always want to find out why, right? That's the million-dollar question, and that's something that's beaten out of us as children. You know, our parents tell us to stop asking why. We go to school, we stop asking why, and we come in front of an authority figure like a doctor and we stop asking why. But really it's important to find out, why do I have this, right? So just knowing you have a thyroid issue isn't significant enough or you know, detailed enough. You want to know why. I find very significant for patients in improving their thyroid health is incorporating a gluten and dairy-free diet. For a couple of reasons. The protein in gluten actually looks very similar to the protein in your thyroid. Which means that when your immune system is attacking gluten, if you are sensitive or intolerant to it, it's also consequently going to attack your thyroid. And that can exacerbate somebody who has Hashimoto's or an inflammatory disorder like that. Dairy is something that very many people are intolerant to. They may not recognize it or they may consume it periodically and not really have an outward manifestation of symptoms. What we encourage patients to do is cut out these foods for at least 30 days and then reintroduce them. So another important tip, especially for our Asian community and South Asians in particular, is vitamin D. Vitamin D is often overlooked. In fact, it's not tested very often, and it's actually misnamed. It's actually not a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. Our body makes it. Our body makes it with sun exposure. So the significance to us being of Asian descent is because we have a darker complexion, we actually need more sunlight than, let's say, somebody who has fairer skin. And of course, sometimes people are afraid of the sun.
South Asians in particular?
South Asians in particular, exactly. I didn't want to say it, but thank you. And what ends up happening is because they don't get the sun exposure or because they're covered up all the time, even if they're in the sun, they're not getting that vitamin D production.
For more on thyroid disease, Dr. Sachin Patel, or the Living Proof Institute, visit becomeproof.com. And for more of our show, you can check us out at anokhimedia.com and our YouTube channel, and be sure to interact with us on Facebook and Twitter.